looking at movement through a lens of performance is different from looking at movement through a lens of like therapeutic support. I guess I'm seeing more now how much movement has supported me mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Like for me, movement is prayer, movement is thanksgiving, movement is a way of tracking what is happening in my body and in my life. It's a form of research as much as it is a way of releasing. I've been working as a dancer for over a decade. I've trained as a movement psychotherapist, and I'm starting to apply these skills, whether in like creative spaces or clinical spaces. I'm reflecting a lot more. I'm seeing how being able to move has been a gift in a number of ways for me, whether it's like, oh, there's actually a lot going on in like my home setting, and like just being able to go to like a dance class regularly. I underestimated how supportive that was for me. If I get home after an event and I'm like, that was a lot of peopling, that was a lot of socializing, sometimes I just need to like shake and like spin and like have a good time in my room, in my mirror. And to be honest, that's probably a place where the two things converge, that like performance element and the kind of therapeutic element, because it is just for me in my space, but I am drawing on those skills of performance, which is, at the end of the day, all about helping me release. I learned through other people's witnessing of me to value the thing that I would just do naturally. I'm Sia, I'm 33. I am a dance artist and a movement psychotherapist. I use she, her pronouns. I wonder, who else in my like family lineage danced, because it feels like something that's so embedded in my body. Movement feels like one of my most developed languages. It's not something I need to translate. For me, there is such truth in what my body would express. I'm a fan of poetry. There's color, there's character, there's gravity in short bursts. Dance feels like it can communicate a lot for me without me having to like find the words necessarily. Like as a process, that can be tricky for me sometimes. I'm also learning a lot about myself as far as like neurodiversity is concerned. So I'm like, okay, maybe that's how some of these like puzzle pieces fit together. Being able to have someone else tell it through music, be able to find my own expression through movement feels meaningful for these sensations. That can help with like organizing it or having that space long term to practice going into that fear and coming out the other side of it feeling more encouraged. That's been so powerful for me. Co-creating dances with friends in the playground at school feels like the earliest and most clear. We get to move and like it feels good, and it's really encouraging. Like when I was maybe 12, 13, I started going to like community classes really regularly. That really formed the foundation of not just my own like knowledge base, but also the like foundation for a lot of like my friends, my network, my community. Like that has persisted over 20 years. That's nuts to me. Again, these community classes, there might be a couple of showcases through the year, and they're usually quite informal. Invite your friends, invite some family, like you share some of the choreography or maybe some like freestyle practice that we were like taught over the term. That being a really beautiful space actually to kind of build up that resilience around being seen, letting go of control of how this thing goes. There can be so many small or big fears around learning and then performing. I think it translates to other things in life, things that will be daunting. But when you have examples of, that was daunting too, and I did it, and then I did it again, and it was stronger. And, like having these real embodied examples of like overcoming. Remembering that like I don't have to know everything. I'm part of a community that this endless loop of like learning, growing is happening. I would use words like fusion, rooted, grounded. I would use intuitive or like spirit-led. Fusion. I guess I'm speaking to the styles that was like foundational in my movement vocabulary. So like hip hop, house, contemporary. I see how those styles support me in other movement styles. Really enjoy styles like hustle, salsa, bachata, kizomba. like the list goes on. If I'm freestyling or if I'm choreographing work, I'm welcoming all of these influences. Fusion for me feels inevitable because collaboration is something that I value. Like cultural curiosity is something that I value. Yeah, there's so much to learn just by physically putting your body into different environments, into different dance styles. Hustle is a partnered style, one of those styles that really like disco sort of space. Learning hustle for me, this is something I've been learning over the last like 10 years. Big thanks to Hustling London community. That space, I really learned things around listening well as a follower, communicating well as a leader. I'd been dancing a long time before I even started training. Hustling. A lot of those dance styles meant I was dancing with people as a solo entity. And even when it was partnered work, our approach to partnered work was just slightly different. And when I did get into the space of hustling, where it is here in the hands and just brought to attention how I thought I was trusting, I was trying to anticipate what would happen, which is not the same as waiting and receiving the information. Dance lessons, life lessons, you know? I'm also aware of having West African heritage. My family are from Sierra Leone. I was born in the UK, raised in the UK. Inevitably, there was a fusion here of like languages, approaches, and it actually affirms so much in me when I just let myself sort of move freely. And I feel this deep sense of like being an African woman. From a technical point of view, hip hop, house, contemporary dance, so on and so forth. Like I haven't approached various like dances from across the continent in the same way. For me, it might be family parties that informed my understanding. It might be stories of like ceremonies that happen that inform my understanding of what it is to move as an African woman. And yes, I have videos, and yes, there have been different parts of my life where my training has been focused on maybe like contemporary Pan-African movement, or like I watch how like a Zonto popped off in the UK in like the noughties and up to now when we're watching what's coming out of South Africa, especially around like the movement of Amapiano. It's moving culture. People are going to events and they're like, yo, do you know the dance? You know, people are doing footwork a certain way. People are moving their hips a certain way. People are engaging communally, socially a certain way. And this is something that was born elsewhere. I think that's so powerful. How I had to start almost outside of myself to come back to myself. Doing my master's at Roehampton in dance movement psychotherapy was a real like awakening for me in recognizing what it is I bring and how these various cultures, these various languages, these various movement styles converge in me, through me. It was the kind of study that really encouraged me to recognize I'm different from the people in my cohort. I'm different from the other people on my course. I'm part of certain conversations because of my creative network. So I might have a running understanding of things like intersectionality. My experience of being a Black woman in the world, my experience of being a West African Black woman in the UK means something that is different to what somebody else on my course has experienced. That course helped me maybe just put a bit more respect on my name. Maybe just put a bit more value on like who I am, the experiences I've had and what that means for me. There would have been moments in life where I felt a bit shy about moving my hips and my waist a certain way. I think carnival is like an easy example to point at. In this context, there is no question about the freedom and the power of like shaking your bum. Of flinging your waist. I don't mean to simplify or oversimplify the experience of carnival down to something that is purely about the body, but it is such a beautiful, fully embodied experience. Something that celebrates cultures and overcoming and like communal protection, power. And I think not shying away from the power of like rooting down through your body, shaking off through your body, you know, and reaching out in this way. Because I love what we do, and again, I'm aware of the spiritual aspect of this thing. I'm aware that sometimes these things can stay in that kind of dream space if we don't plant them. It is women like Eartha Kitt, Frida Kahlo, Maya Angelou. I'm learning that I actually enjoy reading referentially. again, probably why I love poetry. It's snippets of a thing, and then that gives me material to let my imagination go boop, 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 and then live a little bit more life and then come back to the book. But The Heart of a Woman I was persistent. I was like, I'm reading this cover to cover. I admired seeing this woman be so honest about the highs and the lows and the learnings, and the loving. I'm sort of flicking back through work I created. One of the themes that keeps coming around in the work, this balancing of women in community who are strong in that warrior sense, but very playful, very much in touch with the heart. Also very disciplined, protective. I guess I'm reminded of film Warrior King encompasses that energy, and I'm aware that that film is based on real people, real women who existed. Seeing more of a modern day sort of media depiction of them, led by Viola Davis Tutu, is a beautiful way in for me. But the spirit of those women shows up across the continent. I feel it in my own life. To recognize, I guess, moments where I've had to tap into a sense of discipline, where I've had to remember to play, where connecting with community. And my community does expand beyond gender categories, gender roles. But I guess in this moment, speaking specifically around communing with women and sort of reflecting back each other's whimsy, reflecting each other's special skills back to each other. I'm talking people often speak about women having a certain kind of intuition. Me just being me, there were things that I didn't quite see because I'm just being me. But you get around other people and these things are reflected back to you and you're aware of oh, you're like this too, or you're oh, we're different in this way. And so through that process learning, these are really beautiful gifts, these are really beautiful skills. I will also say, there have been key people in my movement journey. Leanne Perro runs a dance organization called the Movement Factory, and they've been running for a long time. They had a different name when I was dancing with them. Watching Leanne as an entrepreneur, as a businesswoman, moving through dance, and just seeing how she's continued to provide spaces for young people to get together, to find themselves, to develop the skill. I've benefited from that, and I'm watching how countless others have benefited from that too. I'm very grateful for the work that she does. She does a lot of work outside of the dance sphere as well. She does a lot to support Black women who are navigating cancer. She was going through a thing, and then she realized, oh, this is maybe something I can create to support others. There are so many things that require us to take notice, take action. There are so many times I want to do a thing and I'm afraid. I don't know enough. What do you mean? Again, it's inspiration to if you're passionate about this thing for you and for the people around you and for the people who might come after you, do the first step and then the next one. Coming into that realization, knowing what it's like to not have that, knowing what it's like to feel anxious about getting it right. In the process of finding my own voice, I had to shed the voices, the expectations from people who had been mentors, who had been points of reference. I danced with a company for about 6 years. Lots of love, but again, a lot that I had to unlearn if I wanted to have any hope of really getting to my own authentic expression. Being in that company meant anticipating what the artistic director wanted, being skilled enough, tuned in enough to be effective in the company. I'm grateful for a lot of the lessons. I was in a position where I felt trusted, I felt I could grow into the space of leading. But I realized part of it was because I had taken on so much of the environment, so much of this language, so much of this way of doing things. Even now, if I'm in a space where I'm facilitating or leading something, I will still check with myself against that person's example. I see how this thing may be mutated into being controlling. Let me just reflect and make sure that I'm reminding people that they have choice. I might offer, I will provide structure. That's very important. People need to know, what the heck am I doing here? I'm not the authority in your creativity. We'll co-create. It takes time to reflect and be that wasn't always a safe environment. creatively or otherwise, to really like step out of that, recognize my voice, develop my voice, and develop compassion, develop a sense of like communal approach, whilst also caring about expanding as an artist, pushing my body differently to maybe how I would 10 years ago. Now I'm really like, okay, cool. What's my alignment saying? Which parts of my body are working too hard? How can I like reset that load? How am I approaching project? Am I coming from a place of like, I don't know what's gonna happen and I need to like be on top of it and I need to prepare for everything, you know, in this place of undermining my experience? Am I coming from that place? Am I coming from a place of like, I think my job is to show up here authentically, to trust what I know and to stay open to what I don't know yet. There's more trust in myself, in my practice. Yeah. Because I remember a point in my life where I was like, I will not abandon myself. Younger me would tell present me, thanks for making sure I have space to express myself. Thanks for making sure, yeah, I didn't get lost. Or even if I did get lost, that it was like, it could end up feeling like an adventure more than like this connection. I get to be myself often in workspaces. I'm very grateful for that. And I think older me would say to younger me, you're doing great, sweetheart. You're doing great, love. Being yourself pays off in your friendship, mental, emotional, spiritual health, pays off in your workspaces. It pays off, it pays off, it pays off. Yeah, I'm really glad you chose to continue being yourself.